All right, so Bert and Tom just had Jimmy Kimmel on their podcast, and at this point, just starting to feel like they're trying to troll their audience. I mean, right when I think, what more could they do to piss off their fans? They have Jimmy Kimmel on their podcast. I mean, even he was probably thinking, why would these guys want to have me on? Don't they realize their audience absolutely hates me? Like, even he realizes their fans hate him. So I think Jimmy might know their fans better than Tom does, or at least he's more honest about it. Because when he brings up how much their fans dislike him, Tom acts kind of surprised by it. He's like, no, I mean, maybe there's a small group of people that's the loudest. It's not that serious. And Jimmy's like, no, it's pretty bad. It's like every single comment, which I'd imagine Tom probably knows. I think he's just trying to be nice about it and feels bad maybe. Because Jimmy mentions how one time they took pictures with him and posted them to Instagram, and Jimmy said pretty much every comment was trashing him, which Burr is just honest about. And he's like, oh yeah, I noticed that. I warned Tom about it.
Well, I mean, I have to say, it's rare that I feel like wounded by something that I see online. But the last time I felt very wounded was after I went to your guys' show and you guys posted some pictures with me and all your fans hate me.
No.
I'm sure you noticed. I mean, it was so overwhelming.
I definitely noticed.
You must have noticed.
I said, Tom, have you posted your pictures yet? I take the ones that Kimmel out.
That would probably be wise.
There's this group amongst fans that are always the loudest.
Yeah, I know. It's only like 95, 90, 98%.
Yeah. But they always, the people.
Well, there's an idea, I think, that.
And it's funny. You could tell Tom is trying to make him feel better about it and downplay it. But Jimmy's just like, no, it's pretty much everybody in your audience. And even Bert is like, oh, yeah, I remember those comments. It was pretty bad. But he was also probably thinking, at least I found somebody people dislike more than me. This podcast is probably good for him because then it's like, yeah, we know Bert's annoying, but I guess it could be worse. We could be listening to Jimmy Kimmel. Like one of the comments said, could you imagine watching this podcast and disliking someone on it more than Bert? And Jimmy was right. Like pretty much every comment is just trashing him. Like the top one says, here for the negative comments. Somebody else said, just came to see how many people hate Jimmy Kimmel. It's a lot. And it's funny, people were really upset with the episode, but really happy with how the comment section responded and how everybody came together to hate on Jimmy Kimmel. Like this person said, this comment section has put an enormous smile on my face. Thank you all for your service. Another person said, this comment section saved the day. This is what a community looks like. Somebody else said, guys, please stop hating on Kimmel without me. And somebody else said, I'm beyond happy with the comments on this one. Absolutely worst episode in Two Bears history. Get back to the basics that made everybody watch and love you. Major disconnection to your audience. Yeah, so people are not happy as expected, but at least they're happy seeing all the comments that agreed with them. And also, I think any Rogan Sphere comedians podcast that Jimmy goes on, their audience is going to have a similar reaction. I don't think it's just Two Bears, One Cave. I mean, people just don't like Jimmy for a bunch of reasons, which we'll get to, because he starts speculating on why he thinks people dislike him. But Rogan fans especially dislike him because, first of all, he's like the perfect example of a woke Hollywood liberal. And then also he criticized Rogan for taking ivermectin. And, he's very opinionated about people who didn't take the vaccine.
Fauci said that if hospitals get any more overcrowded, they're going to have to make some very tough choices about who gets an ICU bed. That choice doesn't seem so tough to me. Vaccinated person having a heart attack? Yes, come right on in. We'll take care of you. Unvaccinated guy who gobbled horse goo? Rest in peace, Wheezy.
Say that it's a real simple thing. The people that have been vaccinated, you treat them. And the people that took horse goo, rest in peace, Wheezy. Really? Is that really how you feel? Like people that are sick from a disease that was created in a lab that was funded by our own tax dollars? That's how you feel like? Those people should just die because they don't trust the government or they don't trust the pharmaceutical industrial complex that's been responsible for lying so many times. They're literally criminal organizations.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why their fans don't like him. But Jimmy seems to think the main reason is because people believe he's a sellout and he changed to fit into Hollywood. Because he started his career and gained relevance being an edgier comedian. But then once he got his show and was more mainstream, then he started toning it down and getting more PC. Then once cancel culture started, he acted like he needed to be a moral authority now, which he was obviously doing just to pander and try to save his own ass. But it was just embarrassing. Like when he was talking about Harvey Weinstein instead of just focusing on how corrupt Hollywood is, he tried to make it into a societal thing. And he's talking about how much women get sexually harassed, which, I mean, he used to do quite a bit of on The Man Show. But of course, he takes no accountability and blames it on society.
Behavior slide anymore. The world is watching us. We need to set an example. And the truth is, if we are successful here, if we can work together to stop sexual harassment in the workplace, if we can do that, women will only have to deal with harassment all the time at every other place they go. Tell us what you think of the statue. I mean, do you think that she's attractive or not?
Yeah, so of course he thinks women are being sexually harassed everywhere they go because I think he's the one doing it. No, but I mean, is he really the best person to give a speech like this? You know, because if this is what you're doing on your TV show, I don't know if you have the right to lecture the public about it, unless you want to take some accountability yourself. But it's like the opposite of what he's trying to do. You know, he's saying this to avoid accountability. Like, I don't think he ever apologized for this, but, you know, he did for blackface. That got him. And then to make up for it afterwards, he agreed to basically get humiliated by Anthony Anderson during the Emmys.
And Black Lives Matter. Say it with me, Jimmy. Black lives matter. Louder, Jimmy.
Black lives matter.
Louder, Jimmy. Say it so that Mike Pence can hear it.
Black lives matter.
I'm appreciative that you've given me a safe space to say this from.
No, it's my pleasure. You know that. Yes.
Could you scoot over so I can stand on this star?
Okay, yes, I will.
Bring out.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, so this is another reason why people dislike him. I mean, he's basically just like a puppet for Hollywood at this point, and he's going to do whatever they tell him. So there are a bunch of reasons, you know, like the hypocrisy, how much he panders and preaches, and it all does kind of tie into him just being a sellout, which, like I said, is the big reason why he thinks most people dislike him. He talks about it here. And Tom, he actually posted this clip to Instagram, which I feel like he might have been trolling his fans with, because out of all the clips to choose to post, this was probably the worst one, because Tom is kind of like mocking people who dislike Jimmy and the reasons they do. And, you know, this conversation started because Jimmy is talking about how their fans dislike him. So it was a bold move to upload this as a clip. I mean, Tom knows he's going to get a ton of shit for it. They just talked about it. But I just don't think he cares anymore. And it's also funny because during this, I don't think Bert says a word for over a minute straight, which for him is pretty good. You know, it's impressive. Usually he can't go for more than 10 seconds without talking. But maybe he's smart enough to realize here that it's best probably not to say too much about this. Or maybe he's worried that they'll start talking about why people dislike him or something.
I think that, like, somehow I betrayed this group of men that in comedy. Like, somehow I was the man. But I was always exactly like this. Exactly. Always.
But
now,
you realize
like
that
the content of the show was different. But
that hate that goes your way is because you like stood up for like healthcare. Like, they're just mad that you actually used your platform for something good that offends them. For
I don't
whatever.
know if it's that. I think it's. I think it is.
You've busted Trump's balls.
Yeah, I think well, that's part of it. But, you know, I think they, you know, usually people like busting balls in general, whatever it is. But I think what it is there's this idea that I somehow made an adjustment in order to be part of Hollywood or something.
Yeah.
Which is just really not true. And also that I have some level of like political correctness. And, well, obviously there are things I care about and whatever, but when it comes to comedy, I don't care what anybody does. I mean, I've never criticized another comic for what they never.
So but you think that hatred for you is Illuminati based, like that you have.
They think I'm in the Illuminati.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's even that deep. I think there's a pretty small percentage of people that actually believe there is an Illuminati, and if there is, I would love to be a part of it. I really would.
Oh, buddy,
there is, and they are black.
I'm sorry for all the hatred that you're going to get for having me on this one.
No, we'll lean into it.
I apologize in advance.
You're the man, dude. Thank you for coming.
Thanks
for having me.
Yeah, so at this point, I just think it's pretty funny. It's like Bert and Tom are trying to think of ways to lose more fans. And I know some people are really upset about it, but I mean, what do you expect at this point? Like, if this were 2 or 3 years ago, I'd be more surprised. I'd be like, why would they want to have him on? I mean, what are they doing here? But now it's just kind of like, of course they'd have him on. So it didn't seem that surprising, but let me know what you guys think. And then make sure you check my Patreon account. I recently just talked about the problem with Kill Tony and how Tony's getting a little carried away with some of the bucket pulls. And I also talked about the time Tim Dillon humbled Whitney Cummings and the degeneracy of Ari Shaffir and the downfall of Miley Yiannopoulos and this really cringy Joe Rogan episode with Amy Schumer. And there are over 80 other videos, so there's a lot to go through. If you're a fan of the channel, make sure you check it out. I'll put a link in the description.